Let's see for a moment. Let me go and just bring him the space station, see if we do have a live view, or is it dark right now? And we're on the dark side. Yeah. Okay, where are we? Oh, he's over the South Pacific. So we could see, for example, yeah, South Pacific live now. That's where we are. All right. So let us begin. Welcome everyone to our 11th global class, global leader class, I should say, in the global classroom of this semester. And what we want to do today is bring Mohammed, Professor Mohammed, back from Lauren University in Nigeria. He's going to join us in 5 or 10 minutes to give us a perspective on leadership from an African perspective. And that's the idea today, is we're going to be looking at another perspective of techniques around leadership, but from different ways of understanding how we can lead. And that's essentially going to be what we will do today. And then next week, we have a big class as well with Aftab Hussain, who's going to return from Bangladesh to tell us how things are going with his mission there to bring change and lead his initiative in Dhaka to take a series of recommendations based on his meetings that he will have with people to the prime minister in Bangladesh to ensure that the fire that we witnessed will never happen again. And then we have another big class after that with a guest the following week, and then we're done. Then it's the final class of the semester. So essentially, we have 11, 12, 13, 4 classes left. Okay, so hi, Ryan. Good to see you. So let's orient ourselves first before we get going, and then we'll do a little review. Thankfully, Maureen is here, and she will be with us as much as possible through the remaining part of the semester as she ramps things up with the work that she's doing as the Global Classroom's official coordinator now. And we even have a global classroom club that's shaping up, and it looks like we have a couple of co-presidents that have already um, said that they may want to be involved. One of them is Ryan, who's volunteered, and another one is another wonderful student, Sarah Paulson, in Short History of the World, who will be co-president with Ryan. And Sarah is really something too. She's a self-taught computer programmer who's come back to Durham College to fill in the gaps in her computer programming knowledge, as well as a lot of other things that she's involved in the Leadership Institute. Um, and soon, Ryan, you'll have your podcast going. Who knows? Anyway, so there's lots going on, and this is really great in that we've got this. I think a team, a real team, building around the global classroom now that will be increasingly led by students, so that when we go to Japan next year in 2025, we can really say to the world, "Look at what we're doing here. Look at the quality of students, the quality of education, the quality of innovation, the way technology is being used in the classroom. This truly is the new classroom for humanity." And Durham College and the team out of Durham College, they're nailing this. Like, they're ahead of the game, and we should watch them and learn from them. And I think we're on our way. So if you want to be involved in any way with the club or anything else, Maureen is the one who's overseeing all of that. Um, and I guess the best way to reach you, Maureen, would be, is it through the global class email, or there's a couple of emails, and we can get you all of that information. May as well just write it again on the smart board. So let's orient ourselves geographically or cosmically before we begin. And what we're looking at right now on the big board is a recorded image of the planet because the camera from the International Space Station right now that is looking down on the planet has lost its signal. And so when it does, then NASA defaults to archival footage of something that the camera has caught previously. So right now, that's what we're looking at. And actually, the um, station would be, it's heading into, it looks like the South Atlantic Ocean. You can see in the bottom part, there's a little dashboard, not the planets part, but the other side. There's some information there, and that tells you with a little bit of a diagram, or at least lines and arrows that show the route of the space station as it goes across um, the planet. And right now, it is actually heading toward, so it's in the South Pacific, and it's heading towards the southern tip of what looks like Chile, because Chile goes all the way down the um, western side of South America. And there's Peru and there's Chile. And so that's why the um, Chilean Sea is written there right now. So the space station is actually going over the Chilean Sea right now, and now we're back to the live signal. We can see in the red live now. So essentially, if we look at the coordinates, the elevation right now is 432.4 kilometers off the Earth. The International Space Station is orbiting our planet, and right now, in its 90 to 91-minute orbit of planet Earth, it's essentially going over the Chilean Sea and is moving its way eastwards, and will probably head, as you can see, the little two lines in the lower left here where it says lightning strikes, and just above that, that's the route. The white line is the current route of the space station, and it's going to make its way northwards. I guess it would be Argentina or Brazil. It will go over, and then it's going to head into the Atlantic Ocean and will continue. And that is just a little bit of a reminder always in our class in this space that the new mind that Jacob Bronowski, one of our great world historians of the 20th century, summoned for us after the Apollo missions in the 1960s, when we started to see the planet whole, is an astronaut-like mind. It's a planet-wide mind. And so when you come into this space, into the global classroom at Durham College, what you are um, getting from all of the courses that are taught here is a global perspective on everything that you're doing in your life right now, whether it's journalism, whether it's general arts and science, whether it's sports administration, whether it's physics, whether it's the firefighting program or anything else, whether it's a global leader, you're being given the opportunity to step back and think locally, globally and locally, and that's exactly what astronauts do. So let me come back to that great image that we are always um, anchoring ourselves to. And this is something else that space technology has given us. This is the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter from NASA. Recently took this picture, and you can actually see in an undoctored, untouched image the surface of the moon there, and then the planet rising on the horizon in a very dynamic and vivid way. And feast your eyes on this, because this is our future. When we talk about leadership, this is what you are moving towards, or at least I hope I can help you do that. Oh, here's Mohammed on our guest on WhatsApp. Just a second. I need to. Okay, we got to be nimble here. Watch this, okay? For some reason, hold on. Mohammed? Yeah, we're waiting. We're in the. I sent you the link in. Okay, hold on a second. Just you see the other. I'll put Mohammed on speakerphone so you can all hear him for a moment. Mohammed, could you please go ahead and explain what the problem is? The link to join is I sent it to you in WhatsApp. Just a second. Maybe I didn't. What? Okay. Okay. It's in the WhatsApp group. Yeah. Okay. Mohammed, do you see on WhatsApp the WhatsApp group, the March the 27th class? We'll send it to you again. Okay. Not a problem. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So scroll. Let's see. You know what we'll do is we'll send it to him in here. Okay. Do you have Mohammed's? Yeah. Okay. Great. So look at this. We solve problems quickly. Technically, we are so fluid. It's like we've come onto the ice with sharp skates, and we can deal with anything. That's the idea. Thanks. Of course, this has taken many years, but what I like to be able to present to all of you is a way to use technology positively and not let it get to us. In other words, if tech isn't quite working or something, we will deal with it, but we're not going to let it rule our lives. In the way that I see sometimes people, if their phone is not working or their computer's not working, it's like their day shuts down. No, we don't. That's not how we should lead, I think. We're humans first, not machines. Okay, so let's see if Mohammed comes in, and you'll see. We'll come back with Marine in a second. So I need to set you up anyways for this class, and I also want to make sure that everybody's on target for the third reflection that was due last night, and the fourth one that's coming. Okay, so let's just make sure everybody's good. Burhan, Richie, do you have any questions before I wade into the pit here and see how everybody's doing?
No.
Great. Okay.
All good.
Good, Richie. Great. So, Brock, anything that is on your mind? Anything you want to bring to the class's attention? Yeah, nothing? Okay, grab, okay, nothing there. Jamie, anything you want to bring to the class's attention? Terry, okay, well, why don't you give us a bit of local news, and maybe we can open that up to a little bit of more global perspective for a second. So, okay, go ahead.
Well, Ontario released their annual budget, and it's the largest in Ontario's history at 218 billion.
Whoa. Okay.
And instead of having a surplus like they said they were going to, we're actually going to be running a $10 billion a year deficit.
Okay. So here's the interesting thing. Okay, for those who are watching or who will watch the recording later and maybe watching from other parts of the world, could you now take a step back for a second, the more planet-wide, and explain what is Ontario? What is the Ontario budget? And why is it significant for, let's say, somebody who would be in, right now, Johannesburg, South Africa?
Well, Ontario is a province in Canada, not to be confused with a city in California.
Yes, that's right.
There's an Ontario, California,
yeah. And so what's the connection between how?
Well, I mean, for me, it's kind of funny because the current government for Ontario usually touts how they're going to be cutting spending and trying to run a surplus because of the other party's mishandling of money. Yet this particular one's going to be running a $10 billion deficit. Oh, and they expect the economy to slow down to only a growth rate of 0.3%.
Okay, so when we say the economy is slowing down, it might mean that we're producing less.
Oh yeah, the
Well, grab the mic, okay? That's good. Go ahead, or give it. Yeah, thanks.
I think it's caused by the monetary policy of the Canada right now. They're planning to slow the economy down so the demand can catch up with the supply. At least that's what the Bank of Canada says. And the 10 billion deficit actually tells me something about the current situation because, I think that $10 billion just came from the overall budget of the Canada because
no, that's the Ontario
Okay,
budget.
hold on,
No,
hold
no,
on.
no.
We're getting too
Federal
granular.
budget hasn't been
on
released
local.
yet, as far as I know.
Let's bring this back because we have, the Turkish perspective and Jamie's and others. So what is the connection between what happens in Ontario and its economy to the rest of the world? What do you think? Or what is the rest of the world's impact on our political system here? What do you think?
Tough one.
Go ahead.
Trying
Yeah,
to
think
find words
think
to
about
just
it.
open
There
it.
is there is a connection there, but you just need to think about it. I'm not asking you to answer everything right now. Don't worry about it. Okay, so
Politically, I actually do think we're a few years behind them, unfortunately, in some regards. So I think like their politics are slowly creeping into our country, which I'm not a fan of.
interesting. You know, it was once said by Justin Trudeau's father, Pierre Trudeau, whom I remember very well. Actually, I made a little documentary about him and for his campaign way back when he retired. At any rate, his father, Pierre Trudeau, said living in Canada bordering on the United States is like sleeping with the elephant.
I like that. That's true.
Sleeping with the elephant. And we might say that about the rest of the world too, in terms of how we deal with everything. China, Russia, India, Israel, the Arab world, the South American world, everything often is in reaction to what's happening in the United States, for better or for worse.
I find a lot of the problems are caused by the United States.
Well, this is true. But it's a very complicated situation in the world, and no question. But I just wanted to make sure everybody is thinking about the news that happens here, and that there's probably something happening elsewhere in the world, probably in the United States, that's impacting what happens here in some way or another. Not always, but probably. Okay, so let's move this around. And Jazeel, anything on your mind this morning as we get Global Leader going? No? Okay, Grayson, you good? Okay, so I'm going to let Mohammed work on getting into the class. It could be that he's having some bandwidth issues there. It happens in other parts of the world. And so while we're waiting for that, and for our professor from Lauren in Nigeria, which is just north of Lagos, is the capital city of Nigeria. Nigeria is a very important country, one of the 10th most populated countries on the planet. So it's important to understand something of how it sees the world, but also Mohammed is going to help us understand leadership from an African perspective through the organization that he's been starting at his university around global leadership. But let's review for a second, okay? As we're waiting for him, and let's try and understand what have been some of the critical features or points that we've made so far about global leadership in this class. And keep in mind that you are moving towards your final assignment, assignment 4, your summative assignment in this class, your final reflection. And so all of what we've been covering in class is going to really come to a big climax with that assignment. And it's important for you to think about what's critical. And I'll just conclude by saying some students are writing very good reflections. A lot are writing in this class excellent reflections, but some are writing very good reflections, but they're not excellent because they're not writing about what happened in the class. But they're well written, and there's no cheating. I don't smell AI writing the sentences for them, which is great, but they're writing on things, sometimes that are not directly related to the class, and it makes me wonder if they've watched the classes. But anyways, I can deal with that later with those individual students. It's really, really important in the final reflection that you are moving towards now that you integrate the course material into what you write about. So integration of course material is very, very important. What takes place in this class is very important. So what are some of the critical points that we've made about global leadership so far? We'll make a little list together, okay, for us. And perhaps we'll even who feels ready to go over to the smartboard and do some real writing? Maureen has some other things she's got to deal with. I can volunteer somebody. And Brock, it's been a while since you've been over there. You did good notes right at the beginning. Would you mind going over and okay, thanks. Take the microphone and okay, so here goes Barack's notes, but we're going to help you, okay, Barack, in terms of the review. So Richie and Burhan, you're online. Would the two of you please in the live chat start writing in the live chat for us while we're doing this verbally? Start writing in the live chat what you feel are the key points that have been made so far this semester around global leadership, and then we're gonna continue together, and then we'll return to the live chat afterwards. So I'll start with see, he can't get access. Okay, let's do a little bit of troubleshooting on the fly. I'm gonna call him. Absolutely. Okay, so watch. Brian, you and I'm glad you're thinking. I'm going to make an attempt. I'm going to make because I have the tech. I can call him. I'm going to see if there's anything I can do, and then I'm going to move on if it doesn't work. Okay, so we make one. Are you able to call him? Yeah. Why don't you call him and check? Last ditch effort. Okay. We have grit. We stick to it, but then we know when to let go. Okay, well, yeah, if we can see what you can do in terms of we can connect him via audio only, and we can just hold the WhatsApp up here. I've done that before, okay? We can connect him in any way we need. But while Maureen is getting him connected some way, let's continue, okay? So, Burhan, Richie, remember your orders right now, or at least your direction is, in the live chat, key points, global leadership so far. Now, Barack's on the notes. Let's start with Ryan, because Ryan's always, and we'll go counterclockwise, okay? Yeah, sure, okay?
You guys hear me?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I think one of the things is like, as you said, like adapting your plan. Like if something is, missing, like
Adaptation.
Yeah.
Okay, adaptation. Barack, so review. Global leadership review.
I like also how you just said like now in this
Adaptation.
like right here, that basically one more attempt and then like kind of let it go because like some people I feel like hold on too long.
Yes.
But I feel like if something's not working, you can't make it work. So, but like adjust your plan so maybe that thing will appear again like at a better time later, right?
Okay, good.
You can try to connect on his phone, so he's going to try the laptop.
Okay, so we'll keep going. So, Ryan, I like to ask this because I think it's interesting. We can bring a little bit of personal experience in to each of your comments. You have a background in boxing, correct? So, when you're in the ring and you are maneuvering with an opponent, do you not have to kind of adapt to situations very quickly?
Yeah, that is a big factor of the sport, definitely. Um, I'm gonna be honest, like haven't been in the ring since I like busted up my leg.
Yes.
But yeah, I feel like that is a very big factor, just being aware. And I would say the main thing, even more than that, is just being able to be relaxed and stay calm. And that's actually something I wrote about in my reflection.
Yes.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
being able to have a calm state of mind because you can see more when you're calm, right? When you're very anxious, your vision goes like this, right?
Very good point. So how do you you talk about stress?
Mhm.
Okay, how do you stay calm in the heat of the battle?
I try to focus on something like very mundane, just like I mean, I know a lot of meditation practitioners advise this, and normally as I kind of approach spirituality and meditation, I didn't put such an emphasis on this because I thought, maybe this is just something mundane people use as like, a tool or a stepping stone. But I realized that it's actually such a underutilized thing just to focus on your breath because
Focus on your breath.
yeah, because we breathe air all the
Wow.
time. It's just that we're not being conscious of the action, so we think it's normal, right? But by bringing your attention to something you think is like just mundane and like something automatic,
Sure.
it's almost like everything kind of falls into place, right?
Good, Barack. Put it. This is good advice,
Yeah.
and
It's almost like also everything too on the earth, it lives and breathes just like us, right? So it's almost like through that action, it's almost like you connect with what's around you, I feel like.
and by connecting with that, it calms you down.
And allows your vision to open up, yeah.
Way to go. So I could tell you that one thing I've learned, and just to expand on this, is that if you want to calm yourself down in the heat of the battle, some talk about this idea of elite discipline in the heat of a battle. People in combat, athletes, competing at a high level. Ryan, as he's just described it as well, in the ring. We're talking about elite discipline in the heat of a battle. That's pressure. The breathing that's good is you go in your nose and you exhale through your mouth 4 times as long or longer than through your nose. It's quite useful. And if you're able to do that for 20 or 30 seconds, you can get into the beginning of a chill state that allows you to deal with a lot of pressure. Chris Hadfield would tell you about that too, in terms of how he managed the checklist, overwhelming checklist in the International Space Station that he was the captain of. Having to memorize it and go through it, having to be calm. So it's that. And it's really helpful. It gets you connected. So let's put a few more thoughts down, and then we'll check back with Mohammed. I know he's trying, and we can only do our best. Richie, would you be able to jump on your microphone and expand on this idea of leaders have to be good communicators?
Yeah, so I think one of the first lessons we learned about leadership was regarding how to be a good communicator to your peers. Because only by being a good communicator is only by being a good communicator is how you're going to achieve
Yeah.
like an objective.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
I think that was one of the most important lessons I took from the class this semester, and then holding people accountable is another important lesson I learned about leadership and democracy.
Yep.
Um, I'm still trying to think of others, but I think those are the two most important.
This is great. And Barack's notes are nice and clear. Good handwriting, Barack, for this. And this will be very useful for when you need to go back and review some of the key points for your final assignment. This will be there. So we're going to keep working on the notes more today to make sure that there's some really good notes. And okay, about communication. I'd like to remind you that what Steven Spielberg, one of our longtime great directors in Hollywood, has said about directing, that 80% of it is communication. And you could probably find that from any person in a position of leadership, that you need to be able to explain what you're doing in a way that the team understands. So I'm going to have a little bit of fun right now. There is a student in this class who said at the beginning of the semester that he would like to work more on his communication. So Jamie, why don't you come and sit in the chair over here, take a microphone, and let's do something, put him on the spot, okay? because
This is going to be fun. I've had 5 hours of sleep.
Okay. 5 hours of sleep, that happens, and
Same here.
the question is how you're going to deal with it. You could say, as a leader, to your team, guys, today I'm a little down. I didn't have much sleep. They don't want to hear that.
Nope. So I'm going to take some
They don't want to hear that.
5-hour energy drinks. And
Okay.
boost
no,
myself up.
or you can, if you know that you're going into a situation and you've had little sleep, and Jamie didn't know, I was going to put him on the spot. But if he'd known, then he might have done something in advance of the class to get him ready. But by the way, I'll just say one thing. Generals, not Romeo Dallaire who said this, but there are Lewis Mackenzie, Major General Lewis Mackenzie, whom I got to know quite well in the Canadian military and used to speak a lot. And he was also involved in UN missions. He said that adrenaline would keep him going, but then he would crash. This is a general. You don't want to crash, right? But there's adrenaline. So just tap into something right now. You've only had 5 hours sleep. You may have 3 hours tonight. And tell us, as you look back on the global leader class so far, what would you say is the one thing you wished we had dealt with more? Problems. I want to hear a problem. What is the one thing you wished we'd done that we haven't yet?
That's a good question. I suppose I kind of wish that we had gone more in depths of various heads of state of sorts, different political leaders around like from different countries, to gain a perspective on sort of their inner workings, how they treat their own citizens or how they run their own countries.
Anyone in particular? We can always adapt. It looks like this class is turning into one of those pivot classes. We got on the ice and the line was moving this way. Their defense was really rough, so we had to move the line this way. So we can go any direction right now, depending on what's important. So maybe we will talk about heads of state and examples, but let's see. Let's drill down on this a little bit more. Brian, grab the microphone. Okay.
I like that because I would have liked to delve a bit more deep into some of the leaders from history, like Alexander and stuff like that. Because I know sometimes we briefly cover them, and we look at aspects like, oh yeah, he was kind of killer, a warmonger, but we don't tend to kind of give ourselves a separated view where we can see objectively, like Richie was talking about, to look at what leadership qualities did he have, and even though he had negative aspects to him, like all of us do, what were the things that actually made him a leader, though?
Okay.
Just as a concept, in regardless of morality and all that, because that's a different subject. But when you look at being a leader and what qualities are attributed to that, then I feel like it's important to look at it in that light. But I also would have liked to delve a bit more deep into some of the older leaders, from the old kingdoms and stuff like that. So,
I believe you said Genghis Khan.
Alexander the Great.
Oh, sorry, I thought you said Mongolia at one point.
Yeah, okay. Well, that Genghis Khan, Kublai Khan, remember, you do have a professor here who teaches short history of the world and other things. So I do have some knowledge here. I can move in many directions. But the critical thing I want you all to understand from global leadership right now is, right now, I'm adapting. I am, as I speak, on my toes in front of you who are looking at me and waiting for direction, pivoting, and doing a different class. This is leadership. Can you think and move on your feet? This is exactly what Muhammad Ali might have done in the ring. Beautiful Muhammad Ali through the 1970s and 80s, one of the greatest boxers in history. Used to watch his fights, you know, the wonderful fights, and how he could move and adapt and adjust to everything, and how he could talk and speak too.
Verbal agility was
Verbal
as good as his
agility,
feet.
abs-
Yeah.
Agility. Agility. Can you write that? Agility. So what we're going to do is we're going to just make a little list right now of things you want to do that you feel we haven't done. And what a good leader does is he or she will recognize where the problems are. You're always thinking about what are the problems that everyone's not seeing. You're 2 or 3 beats ahead of everybody else. You're the chess player who's thinking ahead of everybody else. And you're thinking, how can I solve those problems right now? You don't wait. You don't wait for somebody else to solve it for you. You don't wait for mommy or daddy or your brother or your sister or your teacher or whoever to come in and give you the solution, or you come up with some lame excuse about how you don't have time. You can't do it. It's beyond you. You do have time. You are smart enough to do it. And you're going to do it now. So we're going to do it now. We have a list going. Jazeel, could you take a microphone and tell us, what do you wish we have done in this class so far this semester that we haven't done?
I wish we had stick to one topic with more in-depth analysis and more concrete, how should I say, more concrete arguments and discussions about that single topic.
Okay.
It's,
Going over too many things. It's often said, don't think widely, think deeply. Go deep now, not broad. Let's go deep. One thing allows us to go deeper. We have too many things that we're dealing with. We only are dealing with them superficially. So you're asking for that one thing.
Yes.
Fair enough. Good. Thanks. Grayson? What are we missing? Or what would you like? Or what would you want us to be dealing with that maybe hasn't quite been dealt with?
Wasn't really anything that I thought of that we didn't cover or wanted to cover at all, to be
Okay.
honest.
Great. I'm good with that. No problem. Okay. Ryan? And then we'll go to Barack, and maybe we'll get Maureen to throw her 2 cents in.
Something we didn't cover.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I would like, maybe this is just because I was in short history of the world, but like I liked a lot of aspects of that class because it had to do with history, which I find particularly interesting. Because I don't know, I feel like leaders of the past and just the past in general has so much knowledge to offer. And you know, if we want to look at how things have gone wrong since then, in some
Yes.
ways, we can look at our society now. And you know, I think that there are a lot of things from the
Historical perspective.
exactly
A little bit more of a historical perspective.
yeah, and
Okay.
I feel like, you know, some of the you know, aspects of the current time has, you know, kind of diluted things like morality and stuff with, you know, technology and social media and, you know, publicity and all this kind of stuff. But back when they didn't have that as a factor, you can kind of look at, you know, maybe what the actual motif of somebody was, you know, without all,
For sure.
you know, Snapchat and whatever, right?
Yeah.
So I think that looking more into history and deriving kind of examples from that would have been something I'd like to
Okay.
have done a little bit more.
Well, we're going to do it.
Okay.
See, right now we're brainstorming a little bit about what we're actually going to focus on in about 5 minutes.
I don't want to go
So
into too much of
whatever
a.
it is- okay, historical perspective. Okay, historical perspective is important. So we've gone with Jamie, Jazeel, Grayson, Ryan. We need Barack as well because we want to hear his view too.
I was gonna say
Him
one more.
finish. Yeah,
more
go ahead.
thing. I don't want to go on too much of a tangent, but what was the thing with Genghis Khan? Like he went over to like England or something. They had guns or something like that.
He didn't get as far as England. I'm afraid.
He took over 70% of the landmass. What he
Asia or
would do
something?
though during battle is when he would defeat an army, he would pick up their weapons and resupply his own.
Mm.
And he also didn't believe in sort of a birthright succession. So it was sort of a merit based. Someone would
That's right.
kind of be elected.
Mongolian
Kind of.
meritocracy.
And another thing, he actually brought a lot of rights to some of the civilizations, the towns, whatever, that they took over. To some degree, they were actually very respected. I mean, as
The largest contiguous joined land empire in history, bigger than what Alexander did when he went east, bigger than the Roman Empire ever stretched, bigger, not as big as the British Empire in terms of reach in the world, but in terms of land itself, the Mongolians went all the way from Mongolia and northern China, went down through China, and then they went all the way, and they almost got as far as Rome and Venice and Italy. They were verging on that. So they were into Europe, and they also went down a little bit further south towards India. Largest contiguous joined land empire in all of human history. The
So-
Khan family.
So what happened?
Well, let's hold on. I'm conscious of what Jazeel said. We're going to pick a topic and we're going to drill down on it and we're going to make sure that it's something that is significant around leadership and what you've said, but we're not ready yet. We still have to get our focus. Okay.
Okay.
So,
I just want to say one last thing.
Ryan, hold. Okay.
just
Say
to
it, then we're going to
answer,
go to
like-
Barack. Okay. Go to Barack. Yes. Go ahead. Yeah.
I was just gonna say about that thing where you said that he implemented policies that actually turned out to be beneficial in some light. That's not the first time I've heard like somebody say that or that factor be attributed to somebody who was perceived as maybe a bad guy in history. Like apparently Al Capone was like well liked by the community. He was just not liked by the police, which is why they
He was a gangster.
kind of the same
was
as
a
the
gangster.
Yakuza
Al
in
Capone was not a
Japan,
political-
right? You have mafia that, yeah, are bad. But like the Yakuza, they have, I was going to say charity organizations, but like in times when great disasters have happened, they're the ones with the boots on the ground. They're the ones who are bringing aid to communities, not the police, not the government. For Capone, no one cared that alcohol was illegal.
Yeah.
So no one, so when they were, bootlegging or
Prohibition.
whatnot, it wasn't really a big deal. Most of the cops who were enforcing it thought it was a dumb idea. That's why it didn't last.
Okay,
One.
let me stop for a sec. These are all good points, and I want to make sure we address them, but we're still skating all over the ring
Tangents?
right now, okay? And that's good. I want to let Barack explain what he thinks has been missing. You can come to Jesus, and then we have to choose. No, but it's great, and you've already brought in some interesting examples. You're bringing in, some big, tough men in history. Genghis Khan, Kublai Khan, among the two greatest warriors. And then we're going into the 20th century with, the gangsters and Al Capone and, the mafia or the underworld. These are all the tough guys. It's fine, but it's a little male centric and it's a little old fashioned. However, Barack,
Catherine the Great.
please, we're in the 21st century now in the third millennium, and women would take issue with some of this. Yeah, Barack.
Well, I think I still believe that we should have focused on one subject at a time, like for 2 classes at a time,
Mm-hmm.
because we didn't still finish some of our topics from the last week, including last week. I think we had to give like examples of historical figures, actually, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like examples of global leaders.
Fair enough. So we're going to do this very, very shortly. Okay. Thank you, Brock. And so you would agree with Jazeel because Jazeel said he wants the one topic, one maybe person or example, and we can drill down on that. That's great. Okay. Mayreen, would you like to add to this at all? Global leader, anything that we're missing, since she happens to be today, the lone female in this class. Okay? Have you ever watched The Sopranos? That great television series about Tony Soprano, the head of the New Jersey mob? And take a look at the women in that series, and you will see what power they have.
Yes, there was.
Probably could find examples of women, but nonetheless, Maureen, do you want to?
Pirates are great
Grab a
though. That's
mic
where you
and,
get dental
go
care and
ahead.
unions.
Okay, Maureen's going to give us her thoughts, and then in 4 minutes, we're going to make a choice. We're going to come with one example, and then we're really going to skate with this class, and we're going to learn a lot from that particular example from 11 to 11:30. Okay, and we'll see what happens in Nigeria if we ever see Mohammed. But so, Maureen, go ahead.
Well, just to update on Muhammad, he said, well, he'll just try next time.
Okay,
He's not
so
able to.
might have been an issue, and I know he had a meeting to go to afterwards or something. So this is our class, and it's all good because we're going to really take advantage of this little crisis, which is that my class fell apart. Absolutely, Ryan, and I hope you do. Never let a good crisis go to waste is a cliche that comes from the American president Franklin Roosevelt in the 1930s, who was the American president who had polio. He had a physical handicap. He was never photographed below his waist.
Of
And he
course.
was the one who led the Americans through the Second World War and the Depression. So he
course.
said, never let a good crisis go to waste. All right, then. Hold on. Let's make sure we're on target, okay? Jazeel, go ahead, and then we're going to make our choice. Yeah.
Was this the crisis at 1932, 1939 was the one of the crises that led to U.S. being the global superpower that we know is today.
That's the Second World War?
Yeah,
That's the beginning of the Second World War, 1939.
1939.
That's right.
His contribution and his how should I say aggressive stance against the Japanese and the Nazis was the reason American super global influence has risen.
It's risen, sure. Ooh.
Yeah, it
You
was.
know, it's interesting. Are you okay? We want to stay on target here because I'm going
It's
to.
fine.
Let's. Here we go. Okay. Who? One. What's that? Oh, I thought she was just updating us on. Go. I'm sorry. Thank you. Go. Good, Ryan. No, you're looking out for her, and I wasn't at that moment. Maureen, is there anything you want to add?
Well, no, I think I agree with everybody on saying like them like specific topics, and then kind of like delving into history and kind of using that to talk about how leaders should be today. Because there's a lot we can learn from history and apply it to our future and kind of work from there.
Okay. Now here goes the hard part. I think what Jazeel said is bang on. I like Jamie's courage in coming up here and on 5 hours sleep and being ready to, hit the ball. Everybody was thinking. Now it's the hard part. So what's our topic going to be right now that we're going to drill down on over the next half an hour to understand what we can learn about global leadership from that one example? Whether it's a person, whether it's an event, whether it's a thing, we have to pick it and we have to do it in the next few minutes. So that's Ryan's, we're brainstorming. Female gangsters, okay? Richie, Burhan, please put your ideas in the live chat, okay? I'm figuring out lately how to handle the live chat with these classes now is I plant the seed in the chat, let them go at it while I continue here. We don't wait for that, okay? Let them get going. If they didn't hear us, then they missed the boat, okay? That's their fault. But this is where it happens right now. So Jazeel, what's your choice?
Focus on people who came from nothing, like from slaves or from commoners, beggars to the highest positions
And who might
possible.
that be?
The best example would be a female Chinese pirate who was once a slave in the pirate ship, now turned the captain.
Is this true? Or is
Wasn't
this
she
something
the
you read
wife of
somewhere?
a
No.
pirate and she took over his empire?
She didn't. The pirate.
She was a wife of the pirate.
Yeah, she was a wife. slave, then wife. Then after the husband died, she took over it.
Okay. I don't know about the slave. I just knew she was a wife.
No, yeah, but the beginning, she
Me
was
too.
forced. She was forced.
Okay, so uh, I'm going to say, for the sake of speed, just to help us on, this is a great idea, but now I'm going to throw the wrench in. How do we know this is true?
It's in history book.
Give me a source. I'm ready to go for it.
Just one.
Found it on
It's just one source. One of the many.
Exactly. We are thinking like leaders now. We have the idea, we've adapted to it, we're skating with this class, and now comes the crunch time.
Or even better.
Are we dealing in the land of truth or internet make believe?
No, this is not internet make believe.
Give me a source.
But there's another leader we can actually take from the history books.
Who's that?
Genghis Khan.
We can?
Yeah.
But wait a minute. I think from a teachable moment standpoint, Jazeel, from a leadership standpoint, Elon Musk said, as a leader, a global leader, the richest person in the world. Okay, let me finish my point, and then we're going to go there. He said, I have so much information to handle in the course of a day, so much coming at me. It's overwhelming at times. I don't know where to put my attention. This is what we must do now. Where are we going to put our attention? We have to make sure it's good information. So I'm going to suggest that this example you've given is a good one. Now we have to establish, just the way you would if you were leading some kind of initiative and your team brings you information, you would have to decide after listening, well, what is important here? Is that true? I want to go with that, but is that person really telling me something true? Are they trying to, maybe get power and they're trying to maybe deceive me in some way? Do I know that they're really telling me the truth? It's very important. So now we have Barack saying a name. So I'm feeling pretty good. We have a name for this person? Okay, so how do we know that's true? Where's that coming from? So it's coming from BBC, pretty good source. I would go with it because generally speaking, they have independent journalists who work for them. And I happen to have a lot of respect for journalists. I do believe that pretty well most of them really care about good information. There are so-called bad apples everywhere, but good journalists really care about truth. They do. So, okay, let's go with it. Do you want to go to the board and write her name down, and let's figure out what we can, first of all, let's figure out how to spell her name. Go ahead. So we have our example. And incredibly, we have a woman. How did that happen? Ryan suggested it. Way to go, Ryan. Okay. So a historical figure example of global leadership, and we are talking about Cheng Yi Sao. I'm not sure how to pronounce it correctly. Sao, I'll have to ask my wife later today. She's from Hong Kong. But Cheng Yi Sao. Is that the first time any of you have heard her name?
I've heard her name, but I don't remember it because, again, it's something that I've come across in passing on like YouTube or just the internet in general.
Okay. Well, let's see. Here's what we're going to do. In the cosmos, Richie and Burhan, are you guys there?
Yeah.
Hold on. Could
Yeah.
you start digging for as much information as you can right now on Cheng Yi Sao? Just start. Okay? We're going to ask you, we're going to come back soon to ask you for some facts about her. Okay? Do you understand what I'm asking you to do?
Yeah.
Great. Go for it. Okay, so what do we know about this? Jazeel, go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah. Take a microphone, okay? Make,
I don't want to say the other word.
how do you spell it?
No, it's just another word. I just want to.
She was a prostitute?
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Gee, that's really dangerous to talk about.
Yeah, I didn't want to say it. I didn't know that. That was my mistake.
Hey, that's respect. That's okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's okay. She was, so
Yeah.
who said she was a prostitute? Because this, I'm smelling, somebody slurring. her.
Wikipedia.
Who?
Wikipedia.
Maybe
It's not maybe true.
she was prostitute? Okay, so let's put it down for now.
Yeah.
Okay.
In all fairness, line, we can't just be the media and ignore one side of the argument because it doesn't.
No, that's not a good thing. It's like we're embellishing their past, saying they came from humble origins. Maybe let's say they came from humble origins. So let's be done with that.
We have to be careful because it was said of Cleopatra, for example, the great Egyptian pharaoh. She was the last pharaoh of Egypt, of a long civilization of pharaohs of 3,000 years. She was the last one. She had affairs with two Roman generals, Julius Caesar and Mark Antony. And when she came to Rome, Cicero, the great Roman orator, said of her, "She's just an inebriated whore." It was such a slander. This was the great Cleopatra. And she comes to Rome. The Romans did not like seeing a woman with so much power. And Cicero, the orator, the great Roman orator, stood and said, "Oh, she's just an inebriated whore." So, to say Chiang Ai-shao was a prostitute, I guess we could put it there for now. It sounds.
She was an Egyptian, though, right? She's Mediterranean, if I remember. She's not actually from Egypt.
No, she wasn't.
No.
That's right. But she became.
She's
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but we're so.
Catherine the Great's
let's
got some
put
rumors about.
prostitute in quotation marks. Okay, just write prostitute.
Catherine the Great.
I'm still, even though it's in
late
Wikipedia
1700s
and
ruler
whatever,
of.
I'm still not sure. Okay, but we're gonna
of
take it.
Russia or Prussia.
Okay.
There's a famous sort of rumor that's not true, where she supposedly died by having sex with a horse, which is propaganda that went around at the time.
There's so much out there these days that is it's just a toxic, bad old soup of fiction, propaganda, slander, hate, all online, and we have to wade into this cesspool of information most of the time to figure out where's the real stuff. Okay, that's what a leader does. You cannot make a decision on anything on BS. So you must have a really strong, penetrating, persevering mind to get to the truth. Now, I'm going to say right now that prostitute maybe, quotation marks. Okay? Let's move on. Who was she? What did she do? Before we learn about what we can from her as a leader, I have no idea what she achieved. What do you know? Off the top of your heads. Anybody? Do you know anything?
she led a group of 70,000 Chinese pirates.
And this is coming from.
This is coming from nationalgeographic.com.
Didn't she slaughter like a group of people out of
Yeah.
trickery? And I can't remember how that trick went.
So when we talk about why we know of her today, here we are. It is 2024, and she was alive when? What was the basic time period when she was?
I think like the
1795.
Who's that? Is that Burhan?
Yes.
Way to go, Burhan. When was she born?
I would say 1795.
I would say, or do you know for a fact?
That may be when she became famous for being a revolutionary pirate, but
I'm
yeah,
worried.
1775.
Okay, I'm We are in a global leader class. We've established that we want to go deeper with one topic. It's a great topic, by the way. So great choice. But I'm worried, and today I'm being a little harder on everybody about sources, because if you aren't, you can't lead effectively. So how do we know that she was born in 1795, Burhan? Where did you get that from?
piratesquest.co.uk.
Pirates Quest? That could be, a Hollywood site with Johnny Depp. The pirates of, how do we, I'm that's okay. But to me, that site smells of entertainment. And I'm not sure.
And the other, there's Wikipedia, there's way more sites that g.co.uk.
Good, Burhan. Keep Richie. Is there anything you have?
Worldhistory.org.
Yes.
Any information you have yet on Chiang Isao that is credible information?
Aside from Wikipedia, I'm still trying to verify some other websites, but nothing I can confirm for sure. But she was some pirate in the 18th century.
In the
Yeah,
18th century? That's 1700s. That would be, okay,
Yes.
so, Jazeel?
From my source, I see they say she was born in 1775 in the coastal city of Ganzhou, or at that time called Canton by the Europeans.
And what's your source?
Same, the National Geographic.
Okay, we'll
So-
go with that for now. I'm prepared to go with National Geographic. For
I'm
the
not
moment.
sure.
BBC. That's good.
What I believe is that she was prominent between the First and Second Opium War,
Okay,
or
well, you're
maybe during the Opium Wars.
okay. Let's. This is good. So we've got a source. We're going with BBC right now, and we're going with National Geographic. It's okay. Those are good. They're not scholarly, but they're good enough. Okay. Let me just finish to make sure we're on track. Okay. We have a date of birth, 1755.
No, 1775.
1795.
What a year. 1776 was the time of the Declaration of Independence in the United
Yeah,
States.
That's why I'm.
This is an amazing time in history that we've entered into now. Great choice. Okay. Adam Smith's The Wealth of Nations, the most important book on global economy, was published then. Edward Gibbon's The Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire will be published during this period. It's an immensely important time in terms of human rights and freedom. So the fact that we're talking about a woman, a pirate, it's great. Okay, so 1775, she's born. When did she die?
That would be
Good. Burhan?
1844.
When?
1844.
Oh, she lived a long time.
For 69 years.
1844, that's pretty good. Excellent, Burhan. You are right with us. Can I tell you something else that's going on here right now? I've lived through this. I used to run a production company with partners and produce television shows. I know a little bit about leadership. Let me give you an example. If you've ever been to a party, or you've ever done the congas or the bongos or whatever with people, like you've played music, there's a moment where you get into a zone and everybody's on the same page. And they're all playing the same way. When you're thinking something through with your team, you want to establish that moment where everybody is thinking together and nobody is off somewhere else. So the fact that Burhan, online, without his face, is in the class and he's thinking things through means he is in the conversation with us. That's how things get thought through with the team. You must concentrate on the moment. You must concentrate on what's being said. You must listen. It's not easy. It's not easy at all. And I commend Burhan for his attention, because we have all of these devices now that take us away from the moment. So it's great. I see Jamie in, I see Ryan in, I see Mayreen in. I know you're in. Burhan's in, Richie's in. Now we are thinking something through together. This is how it gets done. This is excellent. Okay, so we have this 69-year-old woman, or 69, she died. I'm sorry, 69. We have, just a second, we have a person, and what did she do during the time she was alive that would mean here we are in 2024 and we're talking about her? She must have done something quite significant. I still don't know what it is.
I think she was ruthless.
She was ruthless? That's the lesson. Okay. Barack, go ahead. Yeah. She was ruthless. Well, Alexander the Great was ruthless, and Genghis Khan and Kublai Khan were ruthless, and Cleopatra was an inebriated whore. But she was also a very smart, multilingual pharaoh. She was really quite brilliant in her early 20s. So I'm just joking about the other part. But Jazeel?
She operated her fleet from 1790 to 1810.
What did she do?
She operated her pirate fleet.
So she was a woman who operated a large fleet of Chinese
Yeah.
ships, and they were the greatest ships in the world. The Chinese had
No.
incredible shipyards. They were much bigger than what the Europeans had built. So to command a Chinese fleet is impressive, okay? Because they were the biggest ships in the world before the British came along.
Yeah.
And
The source is military.com. Not sure.
military.com?
Yeah. This is not
Who is military.com?
I have no clue.
Yeah,
It's
you
just
see?
one of those military sources.
Who's behind it?
Independent military journalists who are focused on military history.
I'm going to just stop for a second because it's so important. It's so important right now, particularly in this year of democracy we're in, heading towards an American election where one of the main candidates is, on criminal trial. He makes things up at the moment. Stuff comes out of his head and nobody knows what he's saying, but there's so many people who love him.
I don't think he knows what he's.
He doesn't.
Aaron
It's
is,
like, do you remember
way
Don
old.
Cherry? Do you ever remember Don Cherry in the National Hockey League? He's incredibly entertaining. Bullish. He's always speaking his mind, but half of what comes out of his mouth, you have no clue if it's true or anything. But everybody loves him. This is not what we do in this class. We understand source and veracity. So military.com, who is military here? Do they have a list of homepage or contacts, or do we know? Are they transparent? Can we contact the people who put the postings out there? Take a look. Otherwise, I'm suspicious.
There is one thing though that's unfortunate is so a lot of sites do end up parroting each other because they use web. I know, but what some sites do is they use web crawlers to gather the information and build their own site.
Okay, fair enough.
Either AI generated, so that's why a lot of the sites have sort of exactly the same information.
Very good, Jamie. But let's establish truth here. It's so who's behind this site, Jazeel, that we're about to put information on our smart board about? I'm not going to put
And I think I
anything on
need
the
to
board.
interject an idea here, but like what I wanted to say was that I think maybe we're kind of going off topic in a sense, not so much maybe like completely off topic, but maybe just on a tangent. I feel like we're maybe focusing more on like the like resources and like seeing if a site is credible rather than focus on like maybe okay, so we know she was a pirate, we know she leaded the
Fair
fleet
enough.
for this number of years. Maybe we can look at like another figure like Cleopatra
No,
because
we're
I
not
think
going to switch. We're going to.
well I'm just saying like looking at the idea of like woman like gangster leaders or whatever overall, and like maybe then you're able to like focus on just some aspects of an individual and what makes them a good leader rather than I feel like maybe now we're going off to ensuring that a site is credible and making sure that we get information, which is good, but like are we doing that or are we
It's a
are
fair
we
question, but
seeing who's a good leader?
my job as your professor is to instruct you and guide you on how to develop your global leadership skills. One of the critical things that a leader does is have to assess information that's brought to him or her and decide what to act on. And so that skill is really important. I'm concerned that right now you're being a little soft on this. You need to be harder about the sources. You're ready to move on in the conversation. And I agree with you in the sense that we're not necessarily talking about what we can learn from those people. But that's not what this class is about. Ultimately, it's about you going forwards in your life and in the initiatives that you do. And there are skills that you need. And one of those skills is critical thinking about the information that's brought to you. And I'm concerned that right now you're being a little too easy on the sources for the sake of something else. And I want to make sure the point gets made. You need to be tougher on your sources. Otherwise, the information you put in your head, and that's fine for you as one person if you're walking around with things that are maybe not true. But when you have people working for you and they're taking direction from you, and maybe their lives depend on you, you better be certain. You better know that you're giving people real stuff, not, softer things. Given that, though, now that I've said that, I think we can move on. I think I've made my point, okay, Ryan? And I can see that you're listening. Let's move on then with Chang Yi-sao and figure out what we can really learn from her in terms of her achievements, okay? And I'll pull back on the grilling of sources for the sake of understanding a bit more about what she did. And let's go there, okay? Fair? Yeah, okay.
Say
Jimmy?
because we could take the whole story, the fact, the mythology, and whatnot, and then build our story, and then go down and see
So-
what's fact or fiction.
Fair enough. But let's go down the road that Ryan wants to go. I just want to make sure what I just said gets through, okay? You understood that.
Thinking like maybe initially what might have we done was we picked the topic of women leaders in history or whatever, and then we maybe come up with a list of just Cleopatra, all these names, and then look at maybe aspects that they were said to have from the sources that we did find, and then see where they overlapped, and then we can see, okay, this is a reoccurring theme in a leader. So, and then just kind of diagnose it from that.
Well, that might be another class.
Do a comparative analysis.
Yeah, it's a comparative and compare and contrast. But and we might be able to add a little bit of that, but let's stay with this one topic that Jazeel got us going on, okay? And we have about 15 minutes left. Let's get some good notes up there about Beyond Ruthless, which I'm not sure if that's Jamie's overheated imagination or whether we can really, she does
But
stand for that.
I believe there's a somewhat famous
Yeah.
story where I don't know the specifics, and this is where you'd have to go and fact check and double check.
Yeah.
But I feel like there was a deal made to bring not two armies together, and then it was a double cross. He slaughtered them and sent heads back in boxes, type of deal.
Mhm. That sounds like something from
It
a
could
really,
be hyperbole,
Well-
but and
sounds like a graphic video game. I mean, I don't know. It's starting to feel like there's entertainment in this. It's really violent. People are really ugly towards each other. Everybody's betraying each other. I mean, it sounds like Succession. Well, Succession. It sounds like well, history is more complex, but so Jazeel, let's come back to you since you were the one who mentioned the idea that we need to go down on one topic, and it's excellent. Okay. About what you've seen so far in your sources and what you know, what can we learn from Chang Yi-sao's example as a global leader?
From several sources from YouTube, Wikipedia, his geographic, the channel, and one more source is it's called yeah, world history worldhistory.org.
Sure.
From all these, at the end of her pirate career, it is said that she pardoned herself and her entire crew and stopped the pirate life. Like, she saved her crew from years long prosecution and execution. She led her, she commanded her crew, and in the end, after everything, she put them in safety and led them to a proper prosperous life after the after their pirate adventures. Or
Hmm.
as a leadership standpoint, it's
It's
a
a lot
good
of
thing.
pirates,
She
though.
cared about her people under her command.
We want to put some notes up, okay? Some critical notes about this, but let's establish first what we want to do, okay? At any time, Barack, go ahead, put some notes up if you want, okay? But that's our goal right now. Is in the next 10 minutes, we want some really nice notes for all of you and all the students watching the recording. So we've moved on from the grilling of sources. I'm taking a step back on that right now. And basically, what we're saying is that she showed a lot of compassion at the end of her life.
Not life, I would say, end of a pirate career. Where she needs to be free, her crew also needs to be free. So she basically threatened the Chinese government into giving them pardon.
She freed her
Means
slaves.
not slaves, like, how should I say? When you're a pirate, you are like the
Crews.
the
We're talking
crew.
about thousands of people.
Yeah, the thousands of people who are, they're basically criminals. If you have to check it in context, slaughter, raids, firing, everything. But under her command, they were free men after everything. They were not hunted by the Chinese authorities, Portuguese, or the East Indian Company.
How many people are we talking about?
Under her command, from all the other sources, it was up to 40,000 to 70,000, 40,000 to 80,000. So I could, every single sources say 40,000. That's the minimum they said. So I believe like 40,000 or maybe less after everything.
I have to say that in terms of the context, meaning the period in which she lived and did this, that probably would demonstrate that this is likely true. Because this period in the 1700s, going into the 1800s, is a time of tremendous volatility in the world in terms of freedom, democracy, and confrontation with slavery. And we will see in the early 1800s, for example, in Haiti, of all places, Haiti right now is in flames practically in terrible gang warfare. But Haiti has a very important history. In the early 1800s, it's the place that staged the first slave rebellion against the French occupiers, against Napoleon Bonaparte. And Toussaint Louverture, the great Haitian black general, defeated Napoleon and made Haiti free. And emancipation and liberation are all going to come in the 1800s during the American Revolution, the American Civil War, all of these things. So it was in the air, in the world, and there was a lot of writing being exchanged and things around the world. So it's very possible that Chiang Yi-sao knew and was influenced by what was happening elsewhere in the world, and that might have given her somewhat the courage to free or emancipate up to 80,000,
Let's say 50,000.
50,000 individuals who were not necessarily slaves, but not necessarily.
Mostly like pirate crews, pirate,
Wow.
like hardened veteran pirates.
So is that ruthless, Jamie? This doesn't sound so.
Depends on what
Sounds
side
like
of the sword you're on.
courageous.
Depends on what side of the sword you're on.
Yeah.
Okay. So have we established what the event is now that has made her a legendary figure? It is that she freed all of these people, or is there something else? Did she display incredible strategic or tactical knowledge and ingenuity in the way that she managed warfare? Was she in a war? Was she leading? Okay, so put this. So, so she faced direct combat.
Yes. I don't know if this is true, but she fought the East Indian Company and the Portuguese Empire. This is not, I don't know if this is true or not, but it's recorded in some of the sources, but I'm not sure it's true.
So, why don't we say it for now, for the sake of getting to the end of the class with some insight? I'm prepared to go there, Ryan, and be a little soft on the critical thinking for the sake of some bigger ideas here.
Because at that time, a woman cannot come to the power in legal ways. That's the thing, right?
How did this woman, this remarkable woman, reach the point where she was in a highly male-centric traditional world, reach a point where she was leading a great Chinese fleet and winning battles and then freeing people? How did she do this?
Mostly skill.
Her husband died.
That put her in the position. Is that true? Or when
That's
I
how
say-
she got into it
wait, That's how
originally.
she got
Yeah.
into. So if the husband had been alive, she never would have had that chance.
She also might have killed him.
There's the ruthless. Interesting.
This is where you have to separate the myth from
Yeah.
fact.
The Game of Thrones, and she played it well.
She played it exactly. This is- we do have a lot of historical examples of siblings killing siblings and children killing parents in cultures. So I'm afraid, as hard as it may be for us to relate to that here in Oshawa having this discussion, that has happened in history, and it's horrible. But regardless of how she got there, she got there. She got to that position.
Oh, I mean not to like put down what she's done or anything.
Sure, no, and nor would I. But let's just say we'll take the conversation forwards with what she did. Is there anything about her achievements that can speak to you as a global leader going forwards?
Well, she had the ambition, and she had the willpower to take control in front of many men. Whether it's through the brutality, because it's the necessity of the years at that era, I guess, because she can take the control that the normal way, especially in a pirate society, you can just take control with the democracy. She actually took control through the democracy. I know, but she
Pirates
had,
weren't bad though. Pirates did have democracy.
yeah,
The
that's the
captain
thing.
generally
but
wasn't just the captain as in
she had to
I'm going to
assassinate some
rule.
figures to,
They were just
take
he was
control.
mostly just the figurehead of the union. Like pirates had dental plans. They had retirement
They had
plans.
they had
It's
better
not-
democracy.
It's true though, right? Like they did
democracy
have
than the
their
Chinese
retirement
government at the
plans.
time. Yeah, that's obvious. And maybe they had even better democracy than some countries in the world right now. But she had to assassinate some
So,
figures, right?
Parag, would you do for the sake of the class today and to get to the end, could you start another slide called takeaway, please? And the takeaway now is that we need to, after drilling down a little bit, Jazeel, on one topic today, we could have much more on this topic, but we only have a few minutes left. So we now need to establish its relevance to you and your future and the skill set that I'm trying to help you develop in this class. Barack just said something I think that's quite important. Ambition. willpower. These are important qualities. And if you have a vision as a leader, that's where it starts. You begin to see something that you want to do. We've established that. We've talked a lot about vision, right? You understand that part, Jazeel? The vision, okay? To execute on the vision. Now, to make it happen, you need to be ready to be ambitious and not let others tell you your idea is not important. You need the fire in you to get moving on this. And then there's the willpower, meaning you might sleep less sometimes. You still get there, you show up, and you show up for the fight. You no excuses. You're there. You will. It's the will. Now, that can be taken too far. One of the most sickening and important pieces of propaganda in political history are the movies that Adolf Hitler made during the Second World War called Triumph of the Will. Triumph of the Will. Napoleon Bonaparte has spoken about this in history too. The importance of the will. Many tyrants will tell you this. They learn that they can impose their will on somebody else. And they learn that trick and they just do it again and again and again, even if what they do is wrong. Donald Trump is a perfect, in my estimation, of this example. He's all will, all will. He had a brother who died as an alcoholic. He had a father who was all over him, pushing him to do things in New York as a developer. But he has this will, which is never lose, never show weakness, never give up. Just go, 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 and win. Doesn't matter at any cost. That's the will gone crazy. That's the will gone, it's nuts. But the will is very important nonetheless in how you use it. So Barack is right. Will, ambition. But what else can we gain from her example? It sounds like she had a lot of ambition and a lot of will. And maybe she was ruthless, but what else?
Kindness. Like she could have just taken the pardon from the Chinese government herself and just run away with all the wealth.
Yeah, yeah.
But she didn't.
History
Careness.
would prove, history may prove he's right. You know why? In Chinese and Indian history, there is a great religion called Buddhism. Buddhism draws its strength from, in some ways, a great prince, a great king named Ashoka in India, who became the inspiration for Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King Jr. The idea of forgiveness, love, compassion, gentleness, it's there in Eastern faith. It's possible she was impacted by that sense of compassion and love for those around her. Maybe, but it's there in the culture. And that's why she did what she did, which was she freed them. So we might say that compassion, empathy, maybe, Jazeel? She compassion is partly why we're talking about her today in 2024 as a leader. The way we talk about Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela came out of prison 27 years in South Africa, fighting for equality. And when he finally was released by the the government there, the apartheid government, the white government that decided it needed to change and establish a fully biracial state for all blacks and whites in Africa, he was released from prison by a white president. And at that point, Nelson Mandela had a choice. When he became the president, do I go after all the whites now? Do I seize their land? Or do I try and establish something bigger and broader and more inclusive? No revenge. No revenge. No vindictiveness. No cruelty. Maybe that's something we can learn from her at the end. I don't know. And I'm trying to put the history a bit around it to maybe demonstrate that it might have been true. We're going to conclude, okay? Ryan, go ahead. Yeah. Take the mic. Oh, make sure. Yeah. Yeah, give him a mic. Okay.
I was watching a show recently, and one of the themes in the episode of the show was something relating to almost what you just said there about, you know, not seeking revenge. Like, even if you're at battle with the enemy, sometimes, like, I don't know, almost like through just it's hard to illustrate, but I think what I'm trying to say is sometimes by seeking revenge or not seeking revenge is almost a way to get what you want. But normally we think that the way to get what you want is to seek revenge. But sometimes, like, doing the thing that is almost like benefiting or in some way seems like it's benefiting the enemy.
Yes.
You know, like, but sometimes you do that for an internal reason, right? Like, oh yeah, you know, I need to defeat the enemy, but the way to do it is not traditional way by going stomping them out, but you know, almost like defeating the root of the problem. And I don't know, I'm trying to put a lot of pieces together with this one, but I think what I'm trying to say is sometimes not seeking revenge is the best way to get what you want, regardless of the traditional thinking that, you know, you just have to use brute mentality and just kill the enemy, because you know, sometimes there is a, you know, higher, better way if you can, you know, have the awareness to see it.
Yeah,
So-
and if you can breathe in and out and calm down, right?
It actually reminds me of superhero comics.
Jamie, go ahead. I love to end with superheroes. Yeah.
So, like, I like comics. I like
Yeah,
superheroes and whatnot.
Of course.
One thing that drives me nuts is whenever. So sometimes there's bad guys and they're like, "Hey, I'm trying to, you know, tell you something," and they're like, "No, you're evil," and they just start punching them. And he's like, "No, no, 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 just listen to me for like 5 minutes," and they're like, "No," and then more of them gang up on them, and I just think, if you just stop and listen for just like 5 seconds, you wouldn't have destroyed half the city that you punched this guy through. Like, just calm down for a second and, to some degree, use your words instead of your fists.
It's a wonderful example, and I'd like to conclude by telling you briefly about something that's happening right now that you may draw some strength and understanding from. Jamie, that's a great. Very shortly, there's going to be a big awards event called the Canadian Screen Guilds Awards. It's the best television and movies done by Canadians will be. It's like the Academy Awards of Canada, the Canadian Screen Guilds Awards. This year, there's a program, 6-part series that's up for 19 awards. It's called Little Bird. Any of you heard of it? I recommend it. It's a bit melodramatic at times. But listen to this dilemma. It's based on something that happened in Canadian history. And it's the first major television series produced by the Aboriginal Peoples Television Network. In the 1960s, in Canada, there was a thing called the 60s Scoop, which was that, particularly in Manitoba and Saskatchewan, where there were a lot of Indian communities and reservations, the social services, the government, went in with police and scooped up about 20,000 children from their Aboriginal parents forcibly took them from their families because they said that the mothers could not take care of those kids. It's the tip of the iceberg of a shameful legacy in Canada of the way that the Aboriginal peoples have been treated. However, now a television series, a drama has been made. And listen to this. It focuses on a young woman. It's a drama, but it's based on historical fact, but there's some license taken with the facts. But it's still based on a true story because the director herself of this is half Jewish and half Indigenous. And her protagonist in this story, the star of the story, is a young woman in Montreal who has grown up in a Jewish household, adopted, who realizes that actually she was stolen from her parents. And she decides that she wants to go find out about her real family. To cut a long story short, just to get to the point here, the meat. One of the critical scenes, it's a bit of a spoiler, but need to tell you. She confronts her mother, Jewish mom in Montreal. And she says, "You're a criminal. You adopted me from an Indigenous family, and I was forcibly taken from my mother, my real mother, and my sibling. How could you do that? You are a criminal." The mother then says, "I want you to know something." And we get the shot now of the number on her arm. Holocaust survivor. The mother says, "I thought your parents had died. That's what I was told. The information I was given by the government was that you were up as an orphan for adoption. I had nobody told me that you were taken from your mother. Had I known that, I never would have adopted you. This is disgusting what they did. They lied to me." Had the daughter continued to think that the mother was a criminal and just stormed out, there would have been no relationship. But they talked. And the mother then comes from Montreal to join the daughter in Manitoba to help search for the real mother, because the mother also felt like a victim. The mother felt she was taken advantage of too by the government. My point is, had the young woman not talked to her mother and found out more about what really happened, she would have gone through her life thinking that her mother was a thief too. But she wasn't. She learned the truth. Does that make sense? Do you understand the point of don't react with your emotions. Sit back and ask questions and listen. And you may find out things as a leader that are the truth that's different than what you thought. And that's really, really important if you have people who are going to act on your decisions. Those are my final words in this. I want to thank you for, again, having a great discussion about this. And I would just conclude by asking all of you, before I let you go, is there anything we're missing right now in this conversation that we need to put in the notes for Barack before we finish the class, in terms of understanding something about Chiang Yi-sao and the example of this remarkable female leader in history and what you can take away from this, Ryan?
I don't know if it necessarily relates specifically to her, but just along the ideas we've been talking about, like leading up to the end, I would say that maybe comes to confrontation, sometimes the best way to maybe defeat the enemy is with mercy.
Sounds pretty religious. Boy, that's a big Ryan. We're getting into forgiveness, and that's high thinking. That's big thinking. Big thinking.
They say hate is
Take the microphone. Just make sure they can hear you. Richie can, Brian can hear you.
in like religion, spirituality, and stuff, they often depict hate as an emotion that is like poison, but it does the opposite of its intention because it doesn't poison the enemy; it poisons yourself because it's baggage that weighs on you, right? So
It's pretty deep stuff, Brian. That's well put. Richie, Burhan, anything you'd like to add before we conclude?
No, I think
No, all good.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. Brian, beautifully said. And I'm here if you need. But other than that, I'm going to turn my microphone off and end the class and let Barack finish the notes. Okay, Marine, yeah, come and you want to say something? Yeah, come, please. Come on. Why don't you come up in here so they can see you for the recording too?
Well, I just wanted to let everyone know that the other co-president of the Global Club, she said that she was available after 2 p.m. She's on campus. So if anyone wanted to join us to kind of like, I don't know if you'll be available. You have a class.
Yeah.
But right, no worries. But if anyone else wants to join, even virtually, like we don't mind. But we just wanted to fill the form out to kind of start the club, start like get it going. So the application form needs to be filled, and Sarah was having trouble kind of putting it together. So obviously, I said I could assist. But if anyone wants to join and try to help put that together, that would be nice.
Sure. Okay, no problem, Ryan. Okay, thank you all and have a good week, okay? See you soon.